My name is George Njuguna, and primarily look after information technology at Safaricom. I'm the director in charge of a department called Digital IT. We do quite a lot for the business. Part of it is day-to-day operations, making sure things are working. So anytime you're doing transactions on M-Pesa, you're doing a star something, your calls are going through, you're browsing, you're buying some new bundle, or you're doing stuff on even social media, that whole range, ensuring that those services are always available, always working, is key for us. We talk about high availability. So that's ensuring that I'd say hundreds of services running across so many different data centers are always up and running to keep the country running, people connected, people transacting, supporting our consumer customers, our enterprise customers, financial services as well. That's now on the operation side. Then there's always, you'll see our business launching new products and services. We build those solutions, working hand in hand with the business in what we call squads that comprise largely technology, IT people and business people. So we're always constantly building and releasing new products and services. The other part is just also ensuring that we're using new and modern technology, big data, IoT, machine learning, AI, all those type of technologies to bring innovation to our business. That's working both with internal stakeholders as well as external. So there's also that part of innovation. I think quite excited about the things we build. I think I have a team of close to 800 people, mainly software developers, young people. So always being in the creative space, but also making sure that services are working. When I entered the space, I just finished high school, and I initially, if I could just, give a bit of context, I wanted to be a lawyer. But then towards the closing of my high school career, people started talking about my time in high school. People started talking about Y2K is coming, and everything, the whole world will shut down. So I was very interested in knowing what are these computers that the whole world will shut down because of. And that's what piqued my interest and started fiddling with computers. By the time I finished high school, I got myself into town. There was a lot of places you could take packages. And then before long, I was building computers. I was connecting people. I always give a story that when I'd go to a customer to connect them on the internet, those days we were using modems. And when you'd hear a sound like a cat that's being strangled, that's when you knew the connectivity had happened. If you didn't hear that sound, there was no connectivity. I think now moving so far, now I don't believe anybody uses modems anymore. We went into the era of, we had the Ethernet, we're talking now about fiber, we're talking about wireless, we're talking about 5G. So I think I've seen connectivity on its own evolving over that period of time. I think when I first started in the space, we used to use some discs that were 5 1/4. Then we had 3 1/2. They became smaller, and I probably still have quite a stack of flash sticks that I would use to store programs. Those days we were coding on black screens. Now it's totally changed. So many people in the space who have never even seen what those look like. We have mini flash disks. Now we're storing things on cloud. I remember in the flash disk era, I used to carry my presentations on flash disks. Now I can save them on cloud. So I think I've seen quite a lot in evolution. I think in the early days it was about hardware. You needed to know how to do infrastructure. I think I came in as the CIOs who are more being demanded of software. So how do you use more of software, coding, data, and that and make infrastructure being more of a commodity that lots of people can just plug and play, and sometimes even be able to outsource, but seeing a lot more creativity happening in the software space. I think also I've seen democratization of technology. Back then, when I'd go to like IIT was where I did quite a lot of my early studies. on Loiter Street. Back then, you needed to have a bit of money. You needed some money to learn IT. Now you just need an internet connection. And I've met developers who they openly tell me, George, I've never been to any university or college. I've learned all my stuff online. I have certifications, and they're able to earn a living. So there's a lot of democratization. That's on the developer or the skilled IT people. On the people you work with in the business as well as customers, they've also become very IT savvy. So for you to distinguish yourself, you always need to keep reading, to keep ahead of the game, because sometimes you'll get a curveball, as I've gotten a few times, and I'm like, wow, how polished am I on cryptocurrency and blockchain? Because many of the times they're challenging how much of an expert you are in a certain domain. And with all the changes happening, I'd say one of the big things is you just need to keep reading, keep learning, keep listening, keep engaging. Yeah, it's always good to be grateful. I think the way I was brought up to be content, but you can be content to stay as you are, to mediocrity, or you can be content and say, what is the next mountain that I have to conquer? I think I'm at that space where I'm saying, what else is possible? I've been very passionate lately talking about digital skills and talent in Kenya and in Africa. I think where I'm at, a few years ago, I was inducted to the CIO Hall of Fame. I think by God's grace, I've probably gotten most of the awards I can get as a CIO. I think right now it's about nurturing the industry, bringing in future leaders. I think being selfless and saying, how do you create a lot more jobs in the space? So those are some of the engagements having with government, with multiple stakeholders. A few months ago, we brought up together about 46 organizations that committed to a digital talent program that will be equipping about 1,000 young people each year. Can we grow that to 10,000? So for me, what I'm thinking about more is the future of the industry, and realizing that I need to use my influence and my role to help define that future and bring a lot more people into that space. People describe me as a people-centered type of leader. I grow my team, I stand up for them. I'll also be tough on them, but at the same time, I share the big stage with them and make sure that they're visible. Sometimes that means other people spot them and they leave, but I'd rather be the person who is part of preparing them for success than holding them back. I think I work hard. I really work hard. I think I'll do anything from a minimum of 14 to 18 hours a day. Sometimes there's a time we had an incident and I worked 24 hours, rested an hour, 26 hours, and 27 hours over a long weekend. Finally got the service up and running in the morning. So my team will tell you I'm with them when they're handling big issues. I'm not remotely there, I'm physically present. Not hovering over them, causing grief, but managing stakeholders, communication. Remember those days, early days, you'd see sometimes M-Pesa trending, Safaricom trending. I can tell you that makes my heart drop. Before I even know what's trending, then I'll check what is it. Hopefully it's a campaign. But if it's systems, I'm probably going to be in the office pushing some long hours. So I'm constantly doing that. And the other one is excellence. I think always striving for excellence, not settling for just good enough, but saying how can this, be it a small thing or a big thing. I always believe that if you can do small things well, the big things will come, because the big things come out of a series of small things you've done with excellence. So I always demand that of my team. I'll give them the skills, the tools on whatever they need, by really inspiring them not to just do things to get it done. Be it a small report that someone thinks it's just a 2-pager, let it be the best 2-page report that has ever been presented anywhere. So I always striving for excellence, feeling at the end of it that there's nothing you left behind that you could have done. I think some of the big things that I've seen happen have been, I would say, if I look outside my job, have been just connecting and identifying with people who we share a common purpose. And we may be in different industries, but we're saying, hey, we have a common purpose of building this country, continent, putting a spotlight on Africa, not being known as the hotbed of lots of things, but talking about being like the hotbed of innovation, the hotbed of talent. So I think that's been one of them. I think about 3 years ago, maybe two years ago, I think in 2020, we were celebrating 20 years of Safaricom, and I got an opportunity. We had 3 different homes as technology we were visiting, and I selected to go to the farthest home. It's a home in Mumias, called the Precious Virginia Home for Children with Severe Cerebral Palsy. Quite a number of people wanted to go to the homes that were around, but I decided to go far, and we connected with what the founders of that home were doing, the lady who runs it, called Tina, and we decided to adopt the home. Together with some of my friends, we raised money, been able to sort a number of things, then reached out to the Safaricom Foundation, and a few weeks ago we launched a new dormitory that would separate the girls from the boys. I think what I felt about it was about giving back, using both my own friendships and relationships, but also tapping into the larger organization to be able to bring attention and a spotlight there. I think for many of them, I won't say they have a bright future. I think it's about managing and giving them some quality of life. In some cases, they are viewed as a curse. Some of the children who have been rescued and brought to that home were staying in with cows and goats because nobody wanted them to stay in the house. And so looking at their needs, like they need washing machines because they have to clean up after them, the children, each day. They need solar to be able to meet the electricity demand of such things. They need water. And now we're talking about what's sustainable type of projects. So I think that is totally off of what I do, but it's something I love. I've been there about 3-4 times, always keeping in touch. So I think what we do to people in that situation is a true reflection of our humanity. I think sometimes in success we can think that we have it all, that our past and future is paved with just good things. But I've learned in life you'll have bumps, you'll have setbacks, and if we can all do our part, my small part, I think has made a very big impact to lots of families, hundreds of kilometers from Nairobi, not in my home area. I wasn't seeking an MCA or MP seat in that space, but it's something I've given that probably I can never be given back. And I think that's true success. Are you able to give people something that they can't give back? I think the last one has been the excitement of watching my kids grow, being able to watch them get into sports, into drama, into music, win, sometimes lose, cry, watching their medals, doing assignments. I think the school purpose, almost like, I remember my daughter, almost every weekend we had to make something. I think there was a time she was doing transport, and we had to make a bus, we had to make a plane, we had to make a spaceship, we had to make a bicycle. It took me back to my young years, and like, how do you make and now you're cutting bottles and cardboards and bottle tops, and just being able to do those things in color. That's been quite fulfilling. And also at times talking to other people to say, hey, you need to take care of your young ones and spend some time. And even telling my colleagues, I've been able to, during my time, be there, or have quite a number of people who work for me have kids, and they ask me, how do you do it? Sometimes they'll tell me, you know what, go spend time with your family. I'll cover for you, but you need to be there for I remember one of my team members earlier this year, they were having a baby. The baby came early, and he was in SA, I was in Spain for work, and I got a call, and it was COVID time. So I forgot it was COVID time, because I said I want him on the next plane I called a few hours later, he's not going. I'm like, oh no, he had to do his COVID test. But I was very particular. And then coincidentally, another member of my team was having a baby at the same hospital. And he was able to be there for both babies until the other guy came back in. I think those things just bring so much joy to my heart. I think the more responsibilities you get, the more touch points you have. You're constantly dealing with, on one hand, you have to keep focused on where you're going, your own personal goals, your team's goals, the organization's goals. You're also dealing with stuff that's hitting you as part of life, left, right, and center, unexpected. What I think it's always balancing and keeping a level head. I think your team needs it, your organization needs it, your family needs it. So we're going to go through some difficult times, some that are probably even personal to you, expectations, demands, and you can't always meet all of them. So you have to prioritize, but also just keep your head on your shoulders. Know that you can't always please everyone, but how do you prioritize to do what's most important? And by the time you go to bed every night, or I think about, sometimes I break my year into hours, into weeks, into months, into a 2-week period. This is what I want. So at the end of that period, can you look back and say you achieved the things that you had set up? I think you have to keep a level head. You can't lose your head, because there are so many people looking up to you, and sometimes what you say, do has very serious repercussions. So understanding that with the great responsibility is not just what it looks on the outside, but on the inside you also need to keep that cool, calm composure. Being away from my family, being in an entirely new area, I went to schools that were predominantly white, in some cases facing racial injustice. An exciting moment while I was away was being part of Barack Obama's campaign for change as a volunteer and getting people out to vote. Sadly, I couldn't. When they'd ask me that question, have you voted? You don't even want to do it. You're saying, well, you need to vote. And I'm very happy when President Obama won Pennsylvania, they called the election. I was living in Pittsburgh, and a very, very exciting moment for me. But I think also diversity met lots of people realize that there's the world that perhaps I'm used to. I always say when I was born, my family lived in Waithaka. My dad says it was a 2-roomed house, but I'm not sure the rooms were quite separated. I suspect they were probably separated with a sheet. And being able to see what's possible and what people are doing was fantastic. But I was very committed when I left Kenya. I told my late grandma that I would come back. And even if she died while I was away, I came back because I believed I had more to offer here. And I call myself a son of Africa. But I think all those experiences, networks, have allowed me sometimes to benchmark on what's possible here and to be able to go for it. I think also the way of the work ethic, the way people work, the way people use technology, I think those were fantastic years. I played rugby while there for the Pittsburgh Harlequins. Fortunately, I broke my ankle, and soon after came back and said, I'm going to finish myself before coming back to Kenya. So maybe that was a life-changing moment, going through surgery and a cast. But I think all in all, it's been a thrill. But I find myself enjoying and wanting to be more in Kenya than anywhere else.